What would you sacrifice for your child's last chance at survival? For Marcus Thompson, the answer came down to a rusted 1998 Honda Civic and a one-way train ticket to a hospital 800 miles away. He had no idea that his desperate decision would change everything, not just for him, but for everyone watching. Marcus Thompson stood in the rain-soaked parking lot of St. Mary's Hospital, gripping a manila envelope that felt heavier than it should. Inside were test results, referral papers, and a single appointment slip for the Children's Cardiac Institute in Boston. His 7-year-old daughter Emma needed surgery, specialized surgery that only 3 hospitals in the country could perform. The appointment was in 2 days. The cost of the procedure, even with insurance, would be astronomical, but none of that mattered if he couldn't get her there. The envelope had been sitting on his kitchen counter for 3 days while Marcus made call after call, exhausting every possibility. Airlines wanted $800 per ticket. His credit cards were maxed from Emma's previous hospital stays. The local bank had already denied his loan application twice. His parents were gone, and Emma's mother had disappeared when she was just 6 months old, leaving Marcus to navigate fatherhood alone while working double shifts at the manufacturing plant. Now, as rain drummed against his shoulders, Marcus stared at his car, a 1998 Honda Civic with 240,000 miles, a cracked windshield, a passenger door held shut with wire, and an engine that coughed black smoke every morning. It had been his father's car, the vehicle that had taught Marcus to drive, the same car he'd brought Emma home from the hospital in as a newborn. The paint had faded from forest green to a splotchy gray-green, and the interior smelled perpetually of old coffee and crayons. But it ran. Sometimes. On good days. Marcus had already checked. A train ticket to Boston cost $340 round trip. He had $89 in his checking account. The car in its condition might fetch $200 if he was lucky. Maybe $300 if he found someone desperate enough. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was about time. Emma's cardiologist had been clear. This wasn't optional. Her heart valve was deteriorating faster than expected. 6 months ago, they'd said they had time. 3 months ago, the timeline shortened. Now it was urgent. He thought about Emma that morning, sitting at their small kitchen table, her blonde hair pulled into pigtails, working on a drawing with the colored pencils her second-grade teacher had given her. She'd drawn the two of them holding hands under a rainbow, with a sun that had a smiling face. At the bottom, in her careful 7-year-old handwriting, she'd written, "Me and Daddy, best friends forever." She'd looked up at him with those bright blue eyes and asked, "Are we going on an adventure, Daddy?" Marcus had swallowed the lump in his throat and nodded. "Yeah, sweetheart, a big one." "Will you stay with me the whole time?" "Every single second," he'd promised. Now, standing in the rain, he made his decision. Marcus pulled out his phone and opened the local online marketplace. His hands shook as he typed, 1998 Honda Civic. Runs, needs work. $300 OBO, need gone today. He attached a photo he'd taken months ago when the car looked slightly better, then added his phone number and hit post. Within 20 minutes, his phone buzzed, then again, and again. By the time he walked back into the hospital waiting room where Emma sat reading a worn copy of Charlotte's Web, he had 7 messages. Most were lowball offers, 100, 150 odds. One person wanted to trade for a broken lawnmower. But there was one message that stood out. "I'll give you $250 cash. Can meet in 1 hour. Where are you located?" Marcus replied immediately with the hospital address. He sat down next to Emma and wrapped his arm around her small shoulders. She leaned into him, her body so tiny and fragile it made his chest ache. The oversized hospital bracelet on her wrist had her name, birth date, and medical record number printed in bold black letters. She'd been wearing one on and off for most of her life. "You okay, Daddy?" Emma asked, looking up at him with concern that no 7-year-old should have to carry. "I'm perfect, Princess. I'm with you." 55 minutes later, a man in his 30s pulled up in a newer Toyota. He walked around the Civic, his expression skeptical. Marcus watched him pop the hood, check under the car, test the doors. The passenger door, held together with wire, barely opened. The man frowned. 200, the man said. That's my final offer. Marcus felt his stomach drop. He needed that extra $50 for food, for cab fare from the train station, for anything unexpected. But what choice did he have? Deal, Marcus said, his voice hollow. The man counted out 20 $10 bills. Marcus took them, each bill feeling like a small betrayal of his father's memory, of all the miles they'd shared in that car. He signed over the title with a pen the buyer provided, his signature shaky. As the man drove away in the Civic, the passenger door still wired shut, the engine coughing that familiar black smoke, Marcus felt something inside him crack. It wasn't just a car. It was his last piece of independence, his ability to get Emma to appointments, to get to work, to exist in a world that demanded mobility. But none of that mattered. Emma mattered. Only Emma mattered. He walked back into the hospital, the cash in his pocket, and bought 2 train tickets to Boston on his phone. The purchase left him with $49 in his account. He had no plan for how they'd get home. No plan for what came after Boston. He'd figure it out. He always figured it out. That night, in their small apartment above a convenience store, Marcus packed their bags. Emma was already asleep, her small chest rising and falling with breaths that sometimes seemed too labored. He included her stuffed rabbit, Mr. Whiskers, worn from years of love. He packed her medications, her medical records, a change of clothes for each of them. He looked around their tiny home, mismatched furniture from thrift stores, Emma's drawings covering the refrigerator, a shelf with a photo of his parents and the only picture he had of Emma's mother. Marcus sat on the edge of Emma's bed and watched her sleep. In the dim light from the hallway, she looked peaceful, like any other child dreaming about playgrounds and birthday parties. He gently brushed a strand of hair from her face and whispered, "I'll take care of you, baby. I promise, no matter what." What Marcus didn't know was that someone had been watching him in that hospital parking lot. Someone had filmed the entire transaction on their phone. And by midnight, while Marcus sat in the darkness of his daughter's room, keeping watch over her breathing, a video was already spreading across the internet with the caption, "Single dad sells his broken car in hospital parking lot for $200 to buy train tickets. Says his daughter needs surgery in Boston. This is America. This is heartbreaking." By morning, everything would change. Marcus woke to the sound of his phone buzzing violently on the nightstand. It was 6:47 a.m., and they needed to be at the train station by 8:30. He grabbed the phone, expecting it to be the hospital, or maybe his supervisor at work, whom he'd already called to request emergency leave. Instead, his screen showed 47 missed calls, 89 text messages, and notifications from social media apps he barely used. His heart raced. Had something happened? Was there a problem with Emma's appointment? He opened his messages. The first one was from his cousin Rachel in Ohio, whom he hadn't spoken to in over a year. "Marcus, is this you? You're all over the internet." The second was from a former coworker. "Man, I just saw your video. I had no idea things were this bad. Do you need help?" Video? What video? Marcus opened his social media and immediately saw himself, standing in the rain, handing over his car keys, watching the Civic drive away. The video had been taken from across the parking lot, probably from inside another car. The caption made his face flush with embarrassment and something else he couldn't quite name. The video had 2.3 million views. 2.3 million people had watched the worst moment of his life. The comments section was overwhelming. Thousands of people were offering prayers, expressing outrage at the healthcare system, sharing their own stories of medical bankruptcy. Some were critical, questioning why he'd waited so long, why he didn't have better insurance, why he'd had a child if he couldn't afford one. Those comments made Marcus's jaw clench. As if anyone planned for their child to be born with a heart defect. As if he hadn't worked every possible hour, sacrificed everything, to give Emma the best life he could. But among the comments, there were offers. Real offers. People wanted to send money, to help, to do something. Marcus closed the app. He couldn't deal with this right now. They had a train to catch. He got Emma up, helped her dress in her favorite purple sweater and jeans, made her oatmeal with honey the way she liked it. She was quieter than usual, probably nervous about the trip. Marcus knelt down to her eye level. "Hey, princess. You know what? You're the bravest person I know." Emma smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "I'm scared, Daddy." "I know, baby, but you know what? I'm going to be right there the whole time. And the doctors in Boston? They're the best in the whole world. They're going to fix your heart so you can run and play and do cartwheels like other kids." "Will it hurt?" Marcus pulled her into a hug. "For a little while, but then you're going to feel so much better. I promise." They took a cab to the train station. $15 he couldn't afford but had no choice about. As they walked through the station doors, Marcus carrying their single duffel bag and holding Emma's hand, he noticed people staring. A few of them whispered and looked at their phones, then back at him. Had the video really spread that far? At the platform, as they waited to board, a middle-aged woman approached. She had kind eyes and was carrying a designer purse. "Excuse me," she said softly. "Are you Marcus? The father from the video?" Marcus tensed, instinctively pulling Emma closer. Yes." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "I just wanted you to know that I saw your story. My son had leukemia when he was 9. We almost lost everything trying to save him. He's 23 now, healthy and in college. I know how hard this is." She reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. "Please, take this. Use it for food, for cab fare, for whatever you need." Before Marcus could respond, she pressed the envelope into his hand and walked away. Marcus opened it. Inside were $500 bills. He stood frozen, staring at the money. Emma tugged his hand. "Daddy, who was that lady?" "An angel, sweetheart, an angel. The train ride to Boston took 11 hours. Emma slept for most of it, her head on Marcus's lap. Mr. Whiskers clutched to her chest. Marcus spent the time watching the landscape change through the window and checking his phone, which continued to explode with notifications. The video now had over 5 million views. Someone had started a GoFundMe. It had raised $32,000. Marcus couldn't process it. He'd asked for nothing, wanted nothing but to disappear into anonymity and get his daughter the help she needed. When they arrived in Boston, exhausted and overwhelmed, Marcus used some of the woman's money to get a cab to the hospital. They checked in, and Emma was immediately taken for pre-surgical tests. Marcus sat in the waiting room, his leg bouncing anxiously when his phone rang. The number was unfamiliar. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. "Is this Marcus Thompson?" A man's voice, deep and authoritative. "Yes? Mr. Thompson, my name is Richard Westbrook. You don't know me, but I know your story. I saw the video of you selling your car. I saw what you sacrificed for your daughter." Marcus's mouth went dry. Richard Westbrook. He knew that name. Everyone knew that name. Tech billionaire, philanthropist, one of the wealthiest men in America. I don't understand," Marcus stammered. "Mr. Thompson, I'd like to buy your car." "My car? But I already sold it. For $200, it's gone." "I know. I've already tracked down the buyer and purchased it from him. I paid him $5,000 for it. Now I'd like to buy it from you. The idea of it, the sacrifice it represents, for $1 million. Marcus couldn't breathe. The waiting room seemed to tilt. "I'm sorry, what?" $1 million, Mr. Thompson. I'm transferring it to your account as we speak. You'll also receive full coverage for your daughter's medical expenses. All of them, including follow-up care and any future treatments she might need. I'm establishing a medical trust in her name." "Why?" Marcus whispered. "Why would you do this?" There was a pause on the other end. When Richard Westbrook spoke again, his voice was thick with emotion. "Because 30 years ago, my daughter had the same condition Emma has. We were lucky. We had money, resources, the best doctors. She survived, and she's now a cardiologist herself, actually working at the very hospital you're in right now. Dr. Sarah Westbrook. She might even be on your daughter's surgical team. Marcus's vision blurred with tears. Westbrook continued, I've spent my entire adult life working to fix the broken systems that make fathers like you have to choose between their last possession and their child's life. But I've never been able to put a face to it, a real story. Your video, your sacrifice, it's going to change things. I'm making sure of it. I'm launching a foundation in Emma's name to help families facing medical bankruptcy. But more importantly, I want you to know that you're not alone. You never were. Marcus couldn't speak. He covered his mouth with his hand, his shoulders shaking. Mr. Thompson, are you there? I don't know what to say, Marcus finally managed. Thank you doesn't seem like enough. You don't have to say anything. Just be there for Emma. And when she's recovered, when she's strong and healthy and running around like kids should, you tell her that her father's love saved her. Not my money. Your love. That's what moved people. That's what changed things. The call ended. Marcus sat in the plastic waiting room chair, his phone in his trembling hands, and let himself cry for the first time since Emma's diagnosis. They were tears of relief, of gratitude, of overwhelming emotion he couldn't name. A few minutes later, a tall woman in surgical scrubs approached him. She had her father's eyes. Mr. Thompson, I'm Dr. Sarah Westbrook. I'll be performing Emma's surgery. I've reviewed her case, and I want you to know she's in the best possible hands. My team and I are going to take excellent care of her. Marcus stood up, wiping his eyes. Your father just called me. Dr. Westbrook smiled. I know, he called me too. He's been crying in his office for the past 20 minutes. She reached out and placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder. Your daughter is lucky to have you, and I promise you we're going to fix her heart so she can have the long, healthy life she deserves. The surgery took 7 hours. Marcus paced the waiting room, prayed in the chapel, and drank terrible coffee from the vending machine. When Dr. Westbrook finally emerged, still in her scrubs, she was smiling. The surgery was a complete success. Emma did beautifully. She's in recovery now, and you can see her in about an hour. Marcus felt his knees buckle. Dr. Westbrook caught his arm. She's going to be okay, Mr. Thompson. She's going to be more than okay. When Marcus finally saw Emma, she was small and pale in the hospital bed. Tubes and wires connected to various machines, but her chest was rising and falling with strong, steady breaths. He pulled a chair close and took her small hand in his. Hey, princess, he whispered. You did it. You're so brave. Emma's eyes fluttered open. Daddy? I'm right here, baby. I'm right here. And I'm never leaving. Did they fix my heart? They fixed your heart. Emma smiled. A real smile that lit up her whole face despite the pain medication making her drowsy. Good. Now we can go on more adventures. Real ones, not just hospital ones. Marcus laughed through his tears. Yeah, sweetheart. We can go on all the adventures you want. 3 months later, Marcus and Emma stood in a completely different parking lot. This one belonged to a modest but beautiful 3-bedroom house in a good school district. In the driveway sat a reliable used Toyota. Nothing fancy, but safe and dependable. Emma was running around the yard, her color healthy and pink, her energy boundless. Marcus's phone buzzed. It was a message from Richard Westbrook, whom he now considered a friend. The message contained a photo of Marcus's old 1998 Honda Civic, fully restored to its original forest green, displayed in the lobby of Westbrook Industries with a plaque that read, "The price of love, a father's sacrifice." This car represents the lengths parents will go to protect their children and our commitment to ensuring no family faces this choice alone. Beneath it was information about the Emma Thompson Medical Foundation, which had already helped 43 families facing medical bankruptcy. Marcus looked at Emma, who was trying to do a cartwheel on the grass, something she could never do before because of her heart condition. She was laughing, her blonde pigtails flying, Mr. Whiskers watching from the porch. He thought about that rainy day in the hospital parking lot, watching his father's car drive away, feeling like he'd lost the last piece of his independence. He'd had no idea that in losing that car, he'd find something much greater. Proof that humanity, at its core, is good. That people care. That love, sacrifice, and compassion can change the world. Emma ran up to him, breathing hard but grinning. "Daddy, did you see my cartwheel?" Marcus scooped her up and spun her around, marveling at how solid and strong she felt in his arms. "I saw it, Princess. It was perfect, just like you." "I love you, Daddy." "I love you too, Emma. More than anything in this whole world." As the sun set over their new home, Marcus understood something profound. He'd thought he was sacrificing everything that day in the parking lot. But he'd actually been planting a seed of hope that had grown into something beautiful, something that would help countless families long after his own struggles had ended. Sometimes, the greatest moments in our lives come disguised as our darkest hours. Sometimes, letting go is the only way to receive something greater. And sometimes, a broken down car in a hospital parking lot can carry more value than any luxury vehicle, because it carries a father's love, and there is no price tag in the world that can match that.